SigTalks, Episode 032. The Best of Sigafoos the Great. What is the difference between them and me?
Hello, and welcome to SigTalks with your host, Dr. Carrie Sigafoos, your home for the chiropractic philosophy, where we discuss the teachings of Dr. James Sigafoos, from his writings to his talks and his many audio presentations.
My father, Dr. James Sigafoos, was never afraid of speaking his mind, or speaking the truth. As a matter of fact, there was more times than not that he would upset people, and there were many a time people that would come to attend his meeting would get up and walk out, because they did not agree with him, or more times than not, flat out like what he had to say. In this short clip from his audio series, The Best of Sigafoos the Great, Dr. Sig does what he does best. He speaks the truth. Have a listen, and Jim Chester from the up-and-coming movie Chiropractic the Documentary will be joining us on the other side to talk about what he got from this clip.
Now, I don't know how many people here are related to, work for, or have any association with the schools, any of them, whether it be this one up here or the multitudes that are in the United States and Australia and various other places. But I'm going to say this, and I've already been reminded by one of the principals, or by one of the presidents, I should say, of a chiropractic college, that he was offended by this next statement that I'm going to make, and so were most of his staff. And my answer to him was, if the shoe fits, wear it. Because that's exactly the way it is, because the schools do not teach chiropractic today. I don't know what the hell they teach, but it isn't chiropractic. And they don't teach anything about the principle. It's never mentioned. They don't hardly ever know how to spell the philosophy, have no recollection that there is an innate intelligence in all living entities, don't know what innate is, don't know what it does, don't know why it exists or if it exists. And there is no subluxation in some of the schools. And some of the schools don't call themselves chiropractic anymore. They call themselves something else. The school that I went to, which never taught chiropractic in the first place, doesn't even call itself a chiropractic anymore. So, are our schools going to be legitimate structures for us for the future of chiropractic? I don't think so, because I just wrote a paper that says this: I'm convinced chiropractic will be gone in 5 to 10 years. And that's exactly what I believe. If, in fact, this profession continues on the same trend that it's on right now, away from the subluxation, away from innate intelligence, denying the fact that there is a principle called universal intelligence, denying the fact that chiropractic can and will adjust subluxations, which are bones out of alignment with the one above and below, causing nerve pressure and reducing mental impulse. And I'll guarantee you this: when you have a mental impulse that's being interfered with because you have an atlas axis interference, you are losing life and you're gaining death. And I don't care who you are, where you are, what your so-called education is, what your belief system is, it makes no difference to me. I know for a fact that when you have a subluxation, atlas axis subluxation, a misalignment of the atlas and axis with the hole in the bottom of the skull that houses the brain stem, that controls all the physiology in mankind, when there's an interference there, then this body begins to lose life and gain death. And if that's not important to the world, then I don't know what is. If that's not important to the profession, I don't know what is. But I can say this to you, that a majority of chiropractors today are afraid to tell the truth. They're afraid to tell people what chiropractic is. They're afraid to tell people the result of an interference. They're afraid to tell people that, yes, subluxations can and do kill people. And they're afraid to mention the fact that the diseases in this body, and all these bodies that you see, are as a result of an interference between this physical body and the spiritual body. They think that's some kind of religion. Well, it is a religion. If a religion is your belief system, happens to be my belief system. And I understand that chiropractic, rather than being a job, it happens to be a way of life. It's a way to live. It isn't something that you go punch a clock for or go and do for money. It's something that you do because it's the way you live, and it's the way you want to share that knowledge with all the people that are on this planet that are sick and dying as a result of an interference to the expression of life. Now, some of you will get this, some of you won't. That's true everywhere you go, no matter what you say. But in the Scripture, the Bible says God is life. So when we have an interference to the expression of life in the physical body dies. There's no doubt about that. And BJ made this statement. For those of you who don't know who BJ was, he happened to be the one who did the promotion of chiropractic, did the research in chiropractic, and proved, if you will, clinically, that there is a thing called innate intelligence, that there is an intelligence within all living things that maintains its existence and gives it all of its properties, as long as it's expressing through the flesh. When it is not expressing through the flesh, then that particular part of the body, whether it be 1 cell or 1 trillion cells or 100 trillion cells, begin to dysfunction and replicate themselves abnormally versus normally. Thus the creation of disease, whatever that may be. So there are bacteria all around us, on us, in us. There's a fear, a great fear, amongst all the other fears that they push on us through the media, that this so-called bird flu is going to create a pandemic, and they're suggesting even to inject birds now. And I'm of the understanding there's an intelligence in me and in you, that if this intelligence is being expressed in its totality from the brain to the tissue cell, that I have something called an immune system, and I'm quite capable of adapting to my environment, whatever it may be. And so if I can adapt to my environment, then we'll just live together with birds and all their flus. It really doesn't make any difference. You see, in Japan, I understand that they injected quite a few students in Japan, and they all went upstairs and jumped out the window, thinking they could fly. But now we also have injections for the mumps. I read somewhere, or heard something even today, that the big problem is failure of the people to have their children inoculated for the mumps. Well, if I wanted the mumps, I'd go get them. I have 6 children who have never had mumps. Been in the dumps a few times perhaps, but not the mumps. Never had any childhood diseases whatsoever, but they were adjusted from the time they came out of the uterus. Why would their resistance be higher than all the other students in their schools that were getting mumps and chicken pox and measles and all the other stuff that's out there? Why didn't they get it? Why didn't I get it? I've never had it. I wanted it. I would love to have had the mumps and the chicken pox and the measles and a few other things when I was in school. Anything to get out of school. My friend Ed Rule had the mumps. I said, "Gee, where's he's out of school?" And I heard he was eating ice cream, man. I said, "I'm getting the mumps." So I went over to see Ed. I said, "Ed, spit on me." He spit all over me, smeared on my face, everything. I never got the mumps. Then I had another friend that had the chicken pox. I said, "Hug me." You know, in those days you do that. You know, nowadays you get labeled. But anyway, they rubbed all over me, and I never got anything. I never got a blooming thing. I went to get, when I was a kid, you know, they did a smallpox vaccine. Most ridiculous thing in the world, but they did it, and I had to have that. At least my parents thought I had to have it to go to school. And interesting enough, well, I'll tell you this in a minute, but anyway, I got my smallpox vaccine. They put the little shield on there, and we're waiting for something to happen. Well, they waited and waited and waited, nothing happened. So they did it again, and nothing happened. So they gave up, and they left me in school without having any reaction to this so-called smallpox. Then I went in the Army, not because I wanted to, but because I got drafted. What do you think they did there? They gave me a smallpox vaccine. Not 1 time, but 9 times. And I still don't have a scar, and because nothing ever came about. Why is that? I mean, they intentionally tried to give me this stuff, and I wouldn't take it. Why? And some fellows had scabs this big. As a matter of fact, some fellows got sick and had to be hospitalized. What was the difference between them and me?
Before I get into this clip with Jim Chester, I would like to say that I didn't and don't always agree with what my father says or said. Ooh, I know, big shocker, right? But, and this is a big but, when it came to chiropractic, I stepped back. I mean, how do you argue or disagree with the man who was one of the original 12 founders of Life University? Or a man who would see more patients in a week than some chiropractors see or saw in a year? Well, I'm here to tell you that you didn't. As a chiropractor and a graduate from the school that he helped build, Life, I would have to agree that even that school, during the time of Dr. Sid Williams and Fred Barge, did not always teach chiropractic. I mean, it was better than most and worse than others, but I did graduate from that school, and I only recall taking one or two philosophy courses. I do remember taking a lot of sciences and courses like epidemiology and learning how to give prostate exams and gynecological exams, none of which I've ever had to use, thank God. I don't remember learning a lot about the subluxation. I do remember some teachers arguing that it is a term that should not be used. Yes, at Life. So you see, I cannot argue with my father's opinion in this matter, because I lived it. I am still living it every day when I talk to new students who graduate and do not know how to tell the chiropractic story or explain to a layperson what chiropractic is and what it is that we do. So with that, I'm going to introduce Jim Chester and let him tell us what he got from this clip. Hello, Jim. Could you first start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Awesome, Kerry. Well, my name is Jim Chester. I am the director, writer, and producer of Chiropractic, the Documentary, and it's a film about the truth in chiropractic.
And how long have you been doing that?
Me and my editor, co-writer, producer, Luke Millette, have been working on this project for over 2.5 years now, and we're coming upon completion of the film. And it's looking like we're going to be releasing sometime around Christmas.
How'd you get into that?
Well, I had been working in chiropractic practices, helping with therapy and helping doing marketing. And what I realized is that we just kept on repeating ourselves to people what chiropractic was. And they came in for some type of pain or illness, and we kept on explaining to them over and over and over the new crop of people, what we did and how we helped them. And it was about 5 years ago, I was walking across the streets of Chicago, and I was talking to a doctor colleague of mine, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a documentary that's going to educate people on the truth of chiropractic and how it can help people with their health.
Wow, that's amazing. And it led you to this point now. Now, are you a chiropractic patient?
Oh yeah, I've been a chiropractic patient for around 20 years. I have a birthday coming up, so I'm going to hit 21 years of being a chiropractic patient.
Nice.
And yeah, that'll be October 1st. So anybody wants to say happy birthday, I appreciate it.
Happy birthday, happy birthday. Well, you know what? I'm going to jump right into this clip. So first off, I mean, it seems to me that everyone hears something different when they listen to my dad's stuff. One of the things my father's most famous is saying is that, listen to my tapes or read my books or listen to anyone's tapes or read anyone's books over and over until you wear them out, because you'll get something different from it each time. So that's why I'm interested in talking to other people to see what they get out of the clips. So what is it that you got out of it?
Well, I always like to say first things first. I don't think chiropractic is chiropractic without subluxation. And that's fundamentals. And I think that chiropractors are the healthcare professionals that are trained to detect and analyze and to remove vertebral subluxations from anyone.
I agree.
So at that point, that's where I wanted to start with the takeaways from the clip that you shared with me of your father.
Yeah, go on.
And the next thing that I fundamentally think that we need to understand is that there is a 3-part triune to chiropractic. It's a science. We all understand that. It's a philosophy, which we may not all understand that as much. And it's an art. So bringing those 3 principles together of what chiropractic actually is, I honestly don't think a lot of people know that.
I would have to agree with you there.
So the more that we can educate people on the chiropractic profession as being a philosophy, a science, and an art, then we have a more educated patient base. We have a more educated doctor base.
I agree.
And we have a more educated school.
Yeah, and Dr. Sid did, he sort of did attack the schools at the beginning of this clip.
Mm-hmm. And that he was mentioning how some of them don't want to have philosophy. Some of them don't want to have um, subluxation-based education.
Yeah.
And from everything that I've found over the past 2.5 years of making this film is chiropractic is not chiropractic without removing subluxation.
I could not agree with you more.
So we can't lose what chiropractic is based on.
Yeah.
And we cannot be afraid to tell the truth. And chiropractic is a way of life, just like your father said.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a strong central nervous system, you have a strong immune system. And it seems like right now there's some medical-minded people that are jumping on board that are actually taking that to a different level, saying that if you have a high immune system, then, or if you have a highly functioning neurological system, you have a highly functioning immune system. And chiropractic has been talking that for a long time.
Ever since I can remember.
So when it comes to what the clip of your dad, I stand by him in the understanding that we need to remain fundamentals within the profession when it comes to the philosophy and when it comes to the subluxation.
That's perfect. It's a wonderful thing to take away from it, because at the very end, he talks about how, he wanted us to, he wished he had the mumps. He wished he got the measles. He wanted to experience it, and he didn't. His immune system was not compromised. We're not saying as chiropractors that disease does not exist. We're just saying that if our bodies are functioning and our nervous system is functioning at its optimal, that our bodies will be able to fight off those diseases. He was inoculated multiple times with mumps and with measles, and it never took. Literally the vaccine didn't work on him. I myself never was vaccinated with anything, and don't ever recall having any of those diseases. So, it begs to differ what people are saying. Is the medical model true? Or are we've been lied to all our lives that our bodies can literally do and take care of us more than anyone or the medical profession has ever told us they could?
Well, I think it boils down to how healthy you treat yourself.
Yeah.
And if you have the philosophy of eat well, think well, move well, and get adjusted, you can live a healthy life. And you won't be so reliant on the pills and potions and the injections.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think you should have two doctors, Dr. Carey.
Yeah.
I think you should have one that keeps you healthy and then one keeps you alive.
I like that.
And trust me, if I get in a high trauma situation, I'm not going to run to my chiropractor.
No.
I broke my finger last year. I was at my chiropractic office. You know what? I didn't look to my doctor and say, hey, can you stitch me up and fix my finger?
Yeah.
No, I ran to urgent care.
Good for you. I think I would have to agree with you on that note.
We should have two doctors in our lives, one to keep us healthy and one to keep us alive. And trust me, if I'm on my deathbed, I want somebody that's a trained professional to bring me back to my best state of health I can be at.
You should make that a tagline for your movie. Chiropractic documentary. One to keep you alive, one to keep you healthy.
And I think it's true, though. And I think that we're so confused with taking care of ourselves. We don't even know our own bodies. And then
we've been trained to give that up to somebody else.
But then we go into somebody that we've never built a relationship with before, and we expect them to give us good health advice on being healthy.
Yeah.
And they're so busy, they're not really interested in having a conversation with us about what our concerns are.
Now, are you talking about a medical doctor or a chiropractor?
I'm speaking more towards the medical model. Not so much a doctor in particular, but the way that the system has been indoctrinated into us.
Yeah.
We go into somebody, we get a bit of time with them, they do some vitals, they do some checks on us, they see us for a primary complaint, and they bring somebody else in that spends most of the time with us. They come in for like 2 minutes, and then they're gone.
Yeah. So to wrap up this whole thing, what would be the one biggest thing you got from this clip?
Chiropractic has to continue to be fundamental with the education on subluxation. There has to be, if it's not being taught in the schools, it has to be taught to the students what subluxation is and how it affects the pathology of the human body.
I think that's a great way to wrap it up.
At that point, if you want to check us out, please come to www.chiropracticthedocumentary.com. You can opt in for release information of the film, and you can check out our awesome site.
Now, are you still doing any Kickstarter or fundraising campaigns for that?
We will be boosting. You can donate directly on the website, but as soon as we are nearing the end of production and the release, we will be allowing people to donate funds for the future of the film and for the future of chiropractic.
I need you to send me the website and all contact information, because I will put this on the SigTalks.com website. Most of the people on here are listening to us via iTunes or from some sort of cloud device. Some people actually go directly to my website, which is SigTalks.com, where all of the SigTalks episodes are, and if you click on this episode, it'll give all the pertinent information about Jim Chester and his movie or documentary. What do we call it? Movie or documentary?
We call it a film. We call it a documentary. We call it a movie.
Okay.
All titles apply. The biggest takeaway from the film is to tell the truth of what chiropractic is.
Hey, and that's awesome, because my blog post today on sigafus.com was Speak the Truth. That's a great way to end. Thank you for joining me, Jim, and hopefully you can join me again in the future. I would love to do a little episode about your movie, and about when it's launched, and maybe a little interview after it's done. How about that?
I would love to do a follow-up with you, Kerry.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks for joining me. Take care, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.